So this was in 2009. That's when I realized that it would be best if I start into animation.
And then we got married in 2016.
So we hit it off very well, immediately.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we had a lot of shared interests.
Yes.
How often do you fight over content and all that?
Into being full-time artist, there was none.
I'm gonna pretend I am this 20-year-old artist who is an aspiring content creator. From his or her point of view, I'm gonna ask some questions related to content creation for artists. Is it even worth being a content creator?
Hi everyone, my name is Saket and this is the Design Podcast. On today's podcast, we have two amazing guests. They are popularly known by their Instagram handles Ru&chai and Ru&chai. More than that, they are popularly known for creating artworks which are viral almost every single time. One of their recent reels got 164 million plus views. Amazing. And even more exciting part, they are not even from artistic background. They both belong to technical backgrounds. So in today's podcast, we not only covered their journeys, but we also tried to decode how social media is becoming more and more important for creative people. If you are an artist and you are an aspiring content creator, we try to understand what are the do's and don'ts. What should you be doing to create your own strong personal presence on social media? What kind of opportunities you can unlock by using content. This is a powerful podcast and I can't recommend more than this, but make sure that you are watching this podcast till the end, understand their insights, understand their words of wisdom, and I promise that you will be left with lot of enlightening insights. Also, as you have already seen, the more number of subscribers means bigger and better guests. So if you want to have more exciting and amazing guests on this podcast, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And also in the comment section, let us know what kind of guests or which guest you want to have on this podcast next. Having said that, let's start with this wonderful conversation and enjoy the podcast.
Hello, Ru&chai and Chaitanya. Actually, I must say that I am a big fan of your work. I have been
Thanks so much.
following
Thank you.
I know Ru&chai separately. We both went to the same college. So, of course, we know each other very well. But without that, just for your work and just for the engaging content you have, I have been a fan for last 2-3 years at least. So really great work, and I am really excited for today's podcast because many questions are gonna be from that fan perspective, because I'm very curious to understand from you how you have done all this. And thanks for having us here in this beautiful setup of your own studio. This is really good. I was already praising you before the podcast also, that the colors and the kind of setup you have, it's very creative. There's so much sunlight coming in. It's very beautiful.
Thanks so much. You're very kind.
And I know we have been talking about this podcast since I think last couple of years.
Yeah. So
Finally, we are
it's
together.
happening, yes.
Yeah, I think maybe it is happening for the right reasons, let's say. So I hope the timing is right now. So let's jump right into the questions. Before we get into all the serious questions related to content creation and other things, I know that you both are from technical backgrounds, like Ru&chai is engineer, you are from computer science background, and today you are, full-fledged content creators. So how did this entire thing happen? Like, what was this journey like? How did you, transform from being those technical guys and then decided to go on this creative journey of yourself?
Yeah, I'm a full-time artist now, but I have always loved art since I was a kid, and also dabbled in a lot of art forms. Like it can be like a simple rangoli or can be crafts and everything. And my mother used to push me to try different things. So I have also learned classical music and classical dance also. I have not continued it, but but yeah, I know that. So I have always been interested in art. And growing up, I have seen my brother, he was doing engineering. So that actually got me fascinated. So I really wanted to do engineering. My mother, she was like, no, you should do something in interior designing or something like that.
Something creative.
But yeah, I was like full on fascinated with engineering. So I was in engineering then. And if you remember, we were in cultural group. So that was fun. And then I started to feel like I'm missing out on something. After that, I got into Accenture, and I still used to paint and make art side by side, like outside my working hours and everything. And then we got married in 2016.
So we hit it
And-
off very well, like immediately.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we had a lot of shared interests.
Yes.
Acha.
It was like art. We love observing clouds and like random things. We see faces in things and like
Observing
what is it called?
stuff. Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. Dolia.
Pareidolia.
What is
Yeah.
that? What is that?
That's like you
Noticing shapes or like
Okay.
patterns or
Like you
faces.
look at clouds and then.
You notice faces in things or like even objects around us, right?
Oh. Okay.
So
and animated movies, and we also used to discuss artistic choices in filmmaking and everything. So that's what we bonded over.
yeah.
So then 6 months into our marriage, I think
Yeah, we started
Ru&chai.
Oh. Okay.
So initially we used
So
to do a lot of-
we were discussing about different ideas to create merchandise that we believe that would be fun to have but doesn't exist around. So we started with those ideas, and that's where we started like this journey. I was always that kid who drew a lot, watched a lot of animated films, cartoons on like Sundays and such. And I always wanted to be a cartoonist. Like back then, animator was a word that I didn't know about. So I thought cartoonists are the people who make cartoons. Anytime a teacher would ask, every new class would start any new standard we used to go in school, the teacher would ask, what would you like to be? My answer would always be like being a cartoonist. And later on, I understood being an animator. So I always wanted to be that. And but when I finished college, like finished 12th, I didn't know enough about the field of design and art and such. So by that time, I had already developed a strong affinity for game design, game development and such. So I had dabbled a bit in programming and such. So that side also fascinated me a lot. And that's when I started thinking about doing computer science, like bachelor's in computer science. Okay. And I also made a small game in my like 10th vacations after 10th. So with a bit of Flash programming and with a bit of like Flash art and such. So all those factors led me to do computer science. And at the end of it, I realized that I still enjoy doing animation and those things a lot more. So that's when I switched over to, I studied in an online school called Animation Mentor. So where I trained for being a character animator. After which I worked in few studios like DreamWorks Animation and in the VFX industry. And so that's how I like went into the technical fields a little bit, but again came back in the creative.
For my own understanding also, and also to create more clarity on this. So all these, so there is animation design as a field, okay, and then there are these animation courses where they'll teach you how to animate and all that. Are these two the same things, or?
I believe I wouldn't be the right person for this because I haven't studied animation design as such specifically, but I can tell you that character animation is more about the performance of a character, like the movement, but more so the acting and the performance. Okay. So when I was working in animation studios like DreamWorks, so that time we would be considered as actors, and we would whenever a new sequence was getting started, the director would launch us into what the performance is going to be. Like just like in a live action film, how a director would tell a sequel, like a actor, what the performance he's expecting out of it and what the character is feeling. So similar things they would tell us, and then that's where we would start and think about how to like express that to the character's body and movement and such. Okay. So the animation design would be a more holistic thing, wherein the entire thing like background design, the character design, a little bit of animation, maybe storyboarding, all these things might come into play.
Fur and all that, no?
Yeah, that
For
would be
animal
more
fur
of a
and-
technical CG
Okay,
thing.
okay.
But in terms of like just pure filmmaking, animation filmmaking, which would apply to stop motion, 2D.
Okay, awesome. So because again, this is a new information for me, and I feel that all these nuances, nobody talks about it. Even if you go on websites and all, like college websites and all, people don't usually give these nuances, and it becomes very confusing for a student to choose that particular thing for themselves. Because it might happen that one guy is very like you are more interested in character animation, but there might be people who are interested into creating or making animation films, let's say, which is like a holistic thing. So I would say that okay, after this, maybe students can go and dig more information into it. But please continue. So 2016, you said
Yeah,
you
so-
met
we
each other.
started Ru&chai.
Okay. Before that, you were saying that you moved from computer science to.
So I studied computer science, but I didn't work in computer science itself because by that time I had again started thinking about doing full-fledged animation, and the programming side interested me a lot, but I didn't want to work in the typical IT scenario. I wanted to work on something that I am personally passionate about. So that's when I realized that it would be best if I start getting back into animation. And that's when I found that the course in Animation Mentor. Like in most fields of work, we have a resume, right? So, but in design, we do have a portfolio.
Right.
So similarly, in animation, we have something called a demo reel. So demo reel is like a minute or minute and a half of one's best work, like the very cream of their work.
Okay.
So this is the work that we apply with to different studios, and we are judged based upon. So at the end of it, I had created these DVDs of, like, back then we had DVDs, now we just send links. So these DVDs I had sent to these studios and applied for. So through that I landed a job. The first job I was working at is it was at a studio called Prana in Mumbai. So they were working on a bunch of Disney projects. So I got to work on that project. That was my first one.
Okay. Is Prana Studio the same which has worked on Life of Pi and all? No.
No, that's a different studio.
That's a different studio. Okay. So Prana. Okay. And that demo reel, what you said.
Yeah.
So is it still relevant? Like even now, you have to send those things?
Yes. So it is relevant in the ones. In the niche fields within animation, wherever there's video involved, then they would expect a demo reel.
Okay.
But say something that's static, like say just character design.
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, the studio would expect to see portfolio, like a typical portfolio with a bunch of exploration and design.
Okay. And which year was this?
So this was in 2009. That's when I applied, and I got my first job.
So you are doing animation since 2009.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is a very important point for listeners also, that because it takes time, no?
Yes.
And I think many, especially this Gen Alpha and Gen Z, they are so impatient that they want results like literally tomorrow. And if that is not happening, they'll get frustrated. But I think all the awesome things happen when you keep doing those things for a long time. So that's why I asked what time it was. So 2009, that's crazy. So after Prana, what were your next jobs?
When I was studying character animation, around the same time, DreamWorks had just opened up a studio in Bangalore. And that was a time when films like Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon released. So that was like the best time, and like I absolutely wanted to be there, like to work there. So I was constantly trying to like improve my demo reel, work on a lot more shots, and show more versatility in my character animation skills and such. So I kept working while I was still working on my first job. In the evenings, I would come home and still keep working on my personal work. So I can like improve and polish my skills. So I had already sent a reel when I had finished my program, character animation program. But even while I was working there, I kept applying, and the right opportunity opened doors at that time, and I got an interview with them, and that's when I got through. So like 6 months since then, I joined DreamWorks in Bangalore. So I worked on a bunch of projects, like there was a Puss in Boots short film. So that was the time when Puss in Boots the film came out. So they have had another short film to go with it. So worked on that, then worked a bit on another little short film that came with Madagascar 2, I think. That short film. And then there was a How to Train Your Dragon TV show. So I worked on a lot of episodes for that as well.
Wow.
So that was fun.
That must be a great feeling, no? That whatever you are working and you are seeing it on the television, which is broadcasted worldwide, must be a crazy feeling.
And also, like, these characters, I absolutely love like watching as an audience, right? So getting to play around with them and getting to animate them was another feeling. Like,
wow.
I would like to add one thing, like since you mentioned that he has been you're an animator since 2009. So not just that, he has like hundreds of sketchbooks full of sketches, and
Yeah.
he used to visit malls and just to observe people, just
And
to
sketch,
like
malls or like playgrounds and
right.
such.
Wow. I must say that you are like genuinely passionate and excited about that craft. And
Yeah.
actually, I think for a creative person, it is very important to have that attitude, no?
Yeah.
Because it's not a straightforward journey. Like you mug up this thing and then you will get the result like that. So many a times there will be lot of downfalls, there might be some problems, and then in those, like during those times, the only thing which could help you keep going is that drive. And if you are loving something, which is what you were saying just now, so that is a good validation, I think. And the only reason I was kind of stressing on this point was many a times I have seen students who just look at the glamorous side of all these fields, and they will just for that glamour they will jump into all these fields, and later after spending like 1 or 2 years they'll realize that there's so much work and the payment is not that much, the salaries are not that much, and I am working day and night, and then it becomes very depressing for them. So I think that drive has to be there, that have attitude of having fun with your craft. I think it's very important. What do you want to add to that?
What you're saying is definitely true, that one must have a lot of passion for this, whatever craft they're pursuing. And it might not be the most high paying job. I mean, there can be a lot more high paying jobs if you are going for that as the metric, like for a successful job or like successful field of work. So it's not that one can't earn a lot of money through this, but then it's the thing is that the passion should drive them. If
It
they are into
also
any
has
of
a
these
lot of
fields,
hard work involved.
it is absolutely a lot of work. And like even character animation, when I was studying in Animation Mentor, just before that I had done a small course here because at that very time I didn't find any 2D animation courses around in India, like not many of them. So that time I found a local institute here which had a bunch of like light tables. Even that was a thing that was hard to get to, right? And there was one teacher who would like do a couple of lectures in a week. He did a lot of good lectures, like showed the like importance of good character design and all these things. So, but most of the time we were on our own. So that time I felt very good because I felt I was in control of what I'm learning and I'm pretty good at it and all that. But when I joined Animation Mentor, that course is like extremely grueling in terms of like the quality they expect out of every student, because these teachers are basically animators from studios like DreamWorks, Pixar, Disney, Beta Digital and such. And in the free time, not necessarily free time, but in the evenings they are like teaching. So the whole course is about getting people ready for the what the studio or the industry expects of them, what we see in Hollywood films like VFX or animated films. So that was a huge jump for me. And in the beginning, it's literally scary that in the very first or second week, my mentor started looking at things frame by frame, like literally frame by frame, and giving notes about like frame number 21, this thing is happening. Maybe you can look into this, and talking about like physics and such. So that was an entirely different perspective for me. So, but it was a very important like learning curve for me.
So how long did you continue doing job? Like,
so I worked in the industry for about 7 to 8 years.
okay.
And throughout that journey, I kept exploring my own personal ideas and such.
Okay.
At that time, we used to have Blogspot, like what we have Instagram right now.
Right.
So I used to maintain a blog, and whenever I had a fun, like say comic idea or a simple illustration, and I got time, I would do that and then post it. Then sometimes it would gather some comments and such. So it was fun to just put out my like personal creative expression and such. So throughout that journey of being an animator in a studio, I had a lot of ideas. But then being an animator in a studio, our job is to help the director tell their story, like the story of the film. So that's more of an actor's kind of a job. So I've always felt that if I become independent, I can explore more of these ideas, like, and just like have fun doing them. So that was always at the back of my mind, and she provided all the encouragement to like.
Yeah, so we came up with Ru&chai. Ru is Ru&chai. Chai is Chaitanya.
Yeah.
So, and we used to discuss a lot of ideas during weekdays, like outside our working hours, and on weekends. And then we came up with a lot of wall art first.
Yeah.
And then some merchandising. And we also participated in some flea markets to test it out, like how people are reacting.
Test out the like
This is
audience
all
of the
happening around
In
2017.
16, 17.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And when you see people actually reacting in person, it is actually very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like, so we understood that, okay, now what we're doing, I mean, people are liking it and we should continue doing this. So that was one turning point. And another was Chaitanya was in MPC.
Yeah. So
Working on Jungle Book.
yeah. So at that time, I got to work on Disney's Jungle Book. It was like live action adaptation.
So 2016-17, you were still, both of you were working.
We were working,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay,
So
but
at
simultaneously you were trying to test it out.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
This has potential or not.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So 2015 or 16, I think I was working on Disney's Jungle Book. It was their VFX adaptation of the classic 2D film. So that was a lot of like realistic animation, and we had a lot of fun working on it. So I instantly, like, the film won on VFX Oscar, and I got to hold that Oscar when they brought it to the studio.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a great moment for all
If
of
you
us.
have that picture, you just share it first. You put it on the screen. That must have been like a very fulfilling and
Absolutely, it
very
was a great
satisfying
moment for
experience,
us.
right?
Yeah, the entire team was like very happy about it.
And he also made us illustration.
Yeah, so the day the film won an Oscar, so it happened in our morning, right? So I quickly drew a little sketch of, like, not a sketch, but an illustration of Mowgli and I forgot the story. Like Baloo is holding
Mowgli is
on back of Baloo,
yeah.
and he's holding
holding
the
Oscar.
Oscar.
Oh.
So I did that in the morning, and I put it online on my Instagram. And I showed it to a bunch of my like colleagues and friends there. And after a few hours, one of my colleagues came and told me that, hey, John Favreau, the director of the film, he shared it on his Instagram.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, oh wow, like that was a like great deal for me. And the fact that we hadn't interacted directly with the director, because this was like a cross-site thing, right? So big part of the team was in London, like major part of this team was in London in MPC, and the Bangalore was like the satellite team. So we hadn't interacted with the director directly. We would like get his notes and everything. We would work on the feedback on the shots, and we would send it back. But the thing is that we had been working on the realistic animation part of it. But seeing him appreciate the illustration, like the 2D illustration for what it was, and like seeing it worthy to put it on his own feed, that was a great feeling for me. And that's when I also started thinking that maybe it is worthy of like prime time. Like what I'm drawing is not necessarily just like a hobby. Maybe I can make a profession out of it if that person thinks it is good enough to put it out for this kind of a moment for him.
So that was like a turning point number 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
us.
so it's a very pivotal kind of
Yeah.
experience. Okay, so was that your first post or something?
No, I've been posting for a
You
while.
were, acha, but this got like
But it
good
got
traction.
a lot of traction. Yeah.
Okay, so this was on because you have 2 pages, no? I think one is Art
So
of
this was
Chai.
an Art of Chai.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you got
So we
some
maintained
sort of
like different pages for like illustration would go on Art of Chai, and paintings and products, merchandise we would go on Ru&chai.
paintings and these
Right,
kind of
right,
things.
yeah.
Okay. So that post went viral. The director himself shared it on his story.
Right.
Yeah.
So he realized that his illustrations and his art, it has a lot of potential, and we really thought that we should give it some chance. And that was one of the points.
Yeah, and another thing was I had always been gearing everything, all of my work towards creating a really strong portfolio, and also wanted to explore the studios abroad, because there were a lot more film projects happening, say London, Vancouver or elsewhere. So all my life, dream had been to go to one of those studios, like on those locations, and work there. So I had also done a few interviews around the same time, like around
Right.
16, 17. And around 17, around end of 16, I also got an interview with one of the studios in London. And I also got an offer. But that was like the most difficult dilemma I was
Right.
in, because at that point, I am also thinking about becoming like going independent and exploring my creative things. At the same time, another thing is something I have worked towards really hard, like working after my job, on my demo reel, in my free time and such. So that was a very hard choice for me.
I remember we were like on our bed and we had this notebook and we were like, okay, take this job in London or be an independent artist.
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
We really noted things down and we decided to go with this, and I'm really glad that we did this.
Oh yeah, man. So just for my own understanding, because we are tracking the timeline, no? So 2016-17, you said you decided that you are going to do your personal thing full time. So before that, how long were you posting all these artworks and things like that?
So early on, I used to post on, like I said, on Blogspot, and then I had a Facebook page. And at that time on Instagram, I would put like food pictures or a random landscape that I might see, put a filter on and put it.
So the Art of Chai actually it was not existing back then
Back
in
then, yeah.
2016.
Okay.
So
It was his own page.
yeah, it was
No.
my name page, and then I wouldn't post any illustrations on there because I didn't really think about it as a platform to post anything other than photos. So I had a Facebook page, I would post there, and we also created Ru&chai Facebook page. We would post her paintings and merchandise
We
there.
later realized that Instagram probably has like more reach and
Yeah.
Actually, it has happened, no? Like nowadays, I don't use Facebook at all. Like,
Right.
at all.
Same here.
And I think that Instagram interface and everything is so simple, probably compared to Facebook, at least, because whenever I go to Facebook now, it feels so cluttered and complex that I don't feel like using it. But I think during that time, because I remember I created my own Instagram account in 2019 or 20. Okay, that's and till that time, my understanding was same, that Instagram is only for posting personal pictures, and maybe people who know you will follow you just to create your close network, because you are sharing your personal photos and all. But in 2019-20, I started seeing that people are posting their work also, people are getting good level of following, and then they are able to, not only stay popular, but also crack job opportunities. And that was the time I started taking it seriously. But I think 2016-17, that time Instagram was very, very new. And I think nobody was thinking of it as a possible, career option or something like that.
Neither we did think about it as a career option. We were like thinking about it as a
Maybe a
part
medium.
of reaching out to to people.
like a medium to reach people.
I think after you got married, that's when I think you started getting more serious about content creation and creating your own personal brands. I think that's when you created Art of Chai also and Ru&chai.
So Art of Chai was existing in a way,
Okay.
like it wasn't named Art of Chai. So he just used
Chaitanya
to,
was there, okay.
right.
The Facebook page had a very, very boring name. It was called Chaitanya Limed Dash
Animation
Art and
and
Animation.
Arts.
Art
No,
and
Animation and
yeah.
Arts.
But I think during that time, such kind of direct titles only used to work. No? Now, after Instagram put all that limitation on the text
There's no
and the
spaces
name,
and such. Yeah.
so then it became like more creative. But I think previously it was very straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, this
So
is Art and-
she told me that this is what a boring name is this. So think about
We
something
then came up
else.
with Art of Chai
She
because
was already ahead of her time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
he
Out of
also
the
loves
curve.
chai a lot.
Huh.
So
So I-
Art of Chai has two things, like it's Art of Chaitanya.
Yeah, and
it's
another thing, like
because he loves tea.
on my blogspot also, I had a banner on top, and which had I had drawn a cup which had a bunch of brushes in it. It also had a bit of steam coming out, so it was also for tea.
Okay.
She told me that this name is extremely boring, just do something about it. And that's when we started thinking about the name, and then we came up with Art of Chai.
Actually, Art of Chai, no? Because my wife, she is non-Marathi. She's from UP, and
Huh.
she's a big fan of your work. Okay.
Okay.
And along with you guys, she is also a die-hard chai lover.
Chai lover.
Okay, awesome.
And you know, one of the reasons why she followed Art of Chai was not because of the name Chaitanya,
Oh,
but it was
okay.
Because of tea.
because of tea, and because I think you also love chai. There were
Yeah.
illustrations related to chai.
Yes, yes, there are a lot
He
of
has
them,
done a
yeah.
lot of them.
So I think it works very well because
Okay.
Art of Chai, the name itself is there, but at the same time it has double meaning.
Right,
so
right.
chai is also there.
Ah.
Then you also love chai, so there is that
Yeah.
part of your personality which is getting
Yeah.
captured.
Even if people are not interested in art, I still gather my tribe to love tea.
Actually, eventually, you can start your own chai brand.
Yeah. That is a good idea.
That should be actually on this podcast there it has happened like 2-3 times. People just for the sake of saying or just for cracking a joke, they said something and eventually it got manifested.
Okay.
Okay.
So I won't be surprised like after 2-3 years if you have your own chai brand.
Yeah.
Or at least
even this was the origin of it.
or at least your chai accessories.
Yeah.
Those things will be really good.
Right.
Anyway, so Art of Chai, brilliant name. Ru&chai also, that is also very nice. Again, it goes and it says Ru&chai से ज़्यादा वो Ru&chai ही लगता है.
हाँ,
So it feels that
right.
okay, this is a channel of Rocha and she loves chai,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've
which
heard
also
a
stands
lot
for
of things.
which also stands for Chaitanya. So,
I am not a dealer.
you are not a dealer.
Yeah.
no? Okay, but interesting. So Art of Chai and Ru&chai, I think both got really good traction, and so this is all happening in 2016-17.
17, yes.
Yeah.
So by that time, I guess you both were working, right? So
yeah.
what was that time when you decided to go full on, leave your jobs? What was that transition like?
So I didn't have that amount of confidence to leave my job and become independent at that point. But it was a lot of encouragement from her. Like she could see that I have the potential in doing this move. So without her encouragement, it wouldn't have been possible. So she so she said that we were discussing that either of us should do that. I was thinking that maybe she can do it. But then one time I remember it very vividly. We were just coming home from work, like we both together came home from work, and I was just opening the door, and she was like, "I think you should quit the job and do this." And I remember it vividly because at that point of time, my identity had been like the identity I had attached to myself, as well as people knew me by, was being a character animator. And from that, suddenly taking like a huge jolt in like direction and becoming an illustrator. And I didn't have any plans of doing 2D animation at that point, but being an illustrator would have been a very different thing for me. So I actually needed quite a few days to think about myself as an illustrator full time, and gave it a thought for a while. We discussed it, and that's when I left the job and started doing this.
Actually, now that you guys are successful, it might sound very casual and all, but I cannot even imagine actually
Oh, it
what
was very
kind of
difficult.
stressful situation that
It
might
was
have been.
scary.
Right? Scary also because you were working from 2009 and 7-8 years into a job where
Yeah.
you are kind of used to that monthly salary,
Yes. Right.
paying your bills. No matter what you do in the job,
Right.
you are getting your salary at the end of the month. There's a safety net, and deciding to go full on, leaving that settled job. How hard was it? And also, if you can tell me little bit of reactions from your families, because I'm sure they must have gotten disturbed with this decision, right?
So fortunately, actually, family has always been supportive. Like
wow.
my mom and his mom and dad.
Okay.
And so that was there. So we also had a lot of support from them. And when basically they saw us creating Ru&chai. They used to see us online, work online, and people's reaction. So they also had maybe a little bit but confidence that okay, we can do something like that. And when we actually told them that this is what we are thinking, they were in full support. They were like, okay, go for it.
Okay. I think that is a big plus, no?
But that was
Yeah.
also, and one more thing was both of us didn't like decide to leave the job at the same time. So since I was working, and then he also that's how we decided that he will be leaving his job first, and I'll be having my
Yeah,
job.
so one risk at a time. Like
Yeah, one risk at a time.
But it is a very clever decision, I guess. Very smart, because if you both leave your jobs and then things don't work out like you have planned, then it's a very risky situation, right?
Also, we had been discussing that for a while. So we also had a lot of money saved till that point. So which we thought that okay, it's not that I'm suddenly leaving a job and out of the blue. We have some bank balance like
Yeah, like
left as
from
a
8 to
safety
9
net.
years till now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is then, as well as she's earning. So our income would come down, but then it's not that we are going to into a risky zone that we would be difficult. It would be difficult to afford rent and then still have more money left to like continue our lifestyle that we are used to. So with that, like it was a calculated risk we made.
Okay. Just for setting the context, how many followers did you have during that time when you left the job?
Oh, very low. Like
Yeah.
so on maybe Facebook we had a few thousand followers.
Yes.
But on Instagram, almost nothing.
Less than 2,000 or something.
Yeah, less than 2,000.
Okay.
So,
So that time actually we did not have this in mind that we'll be making a career with
Through
the help
content.
of through content. So we were actually looking at it like he will be a freelance artist.
Okay.
so now that I'm thinking, I'm doing more of my own work, more of my own ideas, and sometimes I work with brands. So at that point, I was thinking more along the lines of working freelance for clients all the time, like 100% of the time,
Okay.
and
And
also
making
having that
products.
merchandise,
Yeah.
which would go on our online store.
Okay.
So that was the initial idea of it.
Okay. So you didn't leave job for content creation, but you left job to become a freelance artist, and on the sides you can use the social media just to
As a
put
medium.
as a medium to sell your art and merchandise and things like that. Okay, very interesting. So 2017 you guys left your job, like you left your job, and when was that time that you gained enough confidence to leave your job as well?
So that happened 2 years later.
So
So we left Bangalore
2019.
in 2017.
Yes.
And we
Okay.
came back to Pune.
What is there in this air of Bangalore? I think most of the entrepreneurs and most of these content creators, they come from Bangalore only. There's some level of connection with Bangalore. What is it like? Did
I-
Bangalore play any role in that?
I'm not sure, but then at least one thing I can say that when we tested our products like the merchandise
In flea markets,
initially in
huh.
flea markets, the flea market scene there was a lot happening. Like a lot of people love visiting flea markets. I'm not sure right now, but back then a lot of like they need not be like a massive size, even like a small size. A lot of people would love to go there and check out what new is happening, and there were a lot of people who also trying new things. So,
So there was a lot of encouragement in a way.
like someone is probably making little miniature food fridge magnets and such, or someone is trying to
Maybe soaps and all that.
like design soaps, and so there are a lot of niche things that people are trying, and probably looking at all these people taking like trying out things
Right.
might be the thing that
Maybe, yes.
maybe encourages sort of more other people.
And
Some-
people buying from them also.
Yes.
Sometimes I think that surrounding also helps,
Yeah,
because
it
when you
does.
have people around you who are doing things like that. Because I keep on going to Bangalore for various reasons, but what I understand is Bangalore has a very youthful energy,
Yes.
and people are in general very ambitious. Like I think in Pune it's a very like regular scenario to see people who are only focusing on their jobs and then spending time with your families. What I see in Bangalore is that most of the people are doing something after their day job, and all of them, at least most of them, they will have some plan B. Okay, along with this job, I am doing this thing. If it works out, then this is gonna be my main thing. Something like that, I think. So having that surrounding, I think Pune is also now the crowd is becoming more like that. I think that's happening all around India, I guess. So anyway, so I was asking about your job.
Yeah, so in 2017 we came back to Pune and I continued with my job, and then there was this point wherein I was like totally overloaded with a lot of work, and I couldn't really.
So she was, apart from making her own paintings to sell, she was also doing a lot of commissions, like painting commissions for clients. So she was overwhelmed with a lot of them, and that's when you
And
decided,
also,
right?
and also a lot of difficulties in my job, like
Job also,
हाँ.
yeah.
Managing both of these things.
Managing. Okay. And because you were having 9 to 5 job, how were you getting clients in this level? Like, because you said you had very limited following on Facebook and Instagram, and
No, so by that time it was 2019 when I actually thought of leaving my job. So by that time we had some following.
Like, yeah, quite a following in that time.
And we had some customers also. So so that gave me confidence. And so basically it was getting difficult to juggle between the job and Ru&chai both. So that's when Chaitanya told me that I should be leaving the job. And
she was
then
scared
I
this time.
realized, okay, what he must have felt back then.
okay.
So the roles reversed, and I was telling her that you can absolutely do it
You
now.
were cheering
Now's
for me, and I was
the
like,
right time.
no, not now.
But okay, again to set the reference, how many followers you had on Instagram by then? 2019, roughly.
Maybe was it over 1 lakh?
We'll have to look, actually. I'll have to look if I have any.
Chalo, we'll consider around
Screenshots from them.
around 90,000, 1 lakh.
1 lakh,
Maybe.
1 lakh maybe, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
On one of the accounts.
On one of the accounts,
Yeah.
not on Ru&chai.
so basically you had enough validation for your own art.
Right. So he was also comfortable in his own skin by that time.
Okay.
And then, so that's why he told me that now you can leave the job. And now maybe you can go to a point wherein you're not earning anything, but don't worry, I'm there.
But the thing is that you were already earning through your paintings directly.
Yeah.
So it was not going to be that drastic of a step as me doing it few years ago.
Okay, so that's why he could convince you.
Yeah.
And he was also confident about it. But in those 2 years, what happened which, helped you to gain such a good validation and traction on social media platforms?
We used to put our art on Instagram, and
So one thing is even listening, hearing comments from
Right.
our followers that what they are enjoying, what they're liking, or they're really connecting with something that it might not even be a painting, but we share our perspective, we talked about earlier, right? Like seeing shapes in clouds, even such a simple thing that we might share, it happens to connect with so many people. Like a lot of people tell us that. I also think of the same thing. Thank God I am not weird. So, because not necessarily everyone has the like-minded people around them, right? So they think that they are weird, but it's not the case actually. So when they meet someone across over the internet, they see that someone else is like me, then they actually connect with.
so there's a lot of encouragement from our followers. Actually, was
I think,
a big deal for us.
Content which was relatable with a lot of people, I think that helped you gain enough traction and a lot of following, I guess, in that time.
Yeah, and also the artwork, it was getting a lot of good comments and engagement. So a lot of inquiries started popping in about, I saw your painting about such and such landscape, and I would like to get a memory of ours painted where me and my husband, we went to a certain place. We don't have a photo of it, so can you please create a custom painting of it? So those painting orders, as well as her own paintings, they
We
were.
also conduct workshops back then.
Yeah.
Oh, acha, you conducted
Weekend
physical
workshops.
Like
workshops.
one 4-hour workshop like that.
Okay.
So back then, Ru&chai, even I used to post a lot of acrylic paintings.
Okay.
So with time, it just started getting very difficult to do both, like do illustration, animation, as well as do acrylic painting. So since then, I'm not doing much of it. But back then, we used to do that. So we conducted workshops on the weekend as well.
And then lockdown happened.
I was about to ask that. That was the time.
months into being full-time artists, there was lockdown, and we discontinued our workshops.
Wow.
So since then we have not started workshops because other things started taking more time, and so that's when we stopped doing workshops. But we had a lot of good time, and that is where we met a lot of our followers in person.
Okay.
So we still do get to meet them, when we are just crossing the street or at a nearby cafe or something. we get to bump into people and talk with them. But then with workshops, we would spend time with them for like 3-4 hours, and that was a great thing because otherwise we just see people as like small little avatars, right? Under comments and likes and such.
Yeah, actually, as in sometimes, I also engage into academic activities where I get a chance to interact with students and all. Most of the time, I'll be talking to them on Instagram, like or on WhatsApp. But that physical interaction, it's something else.
Yes.
There, it is definitely beneficial for the listener, but at the same time, it is beneficial for us also to explain certain things. No, you can't, especially when you are talking about creative things. It's very easy to do like
Show,
quick
yeah.
sketch and show that okay, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, but interesting. So now 2019 lockdown happened.
Yeah, lockdown happened in March 20, I guess.
Yeah, March 20.
And just I think few months into the lockdown, Instagram introduced Reels.
Okay.
I think around August or something.
So
Acha.
till then, we were only putting photos of our artworks and people used to engage in everything. But then Reels came out. And suddenly there was like more work to be done because now it just turned into a video format. And
Initially we were doing a bit of videos, but not really like once in a while. That used to be a very once in a while thing. And initially we were a bit hesitant about making reels because we weren't sure what are we going to put.
We thought maybe it would stick around for long.
Yeah.
And another thing is we didn't know, like, since we are making an art piece of art, which is a static thing, right? It's a painting or illustration.
Right.
So it's a static thing. What are we going to make out of, like, what kind of video are we going to make for it to be worthy of anyone's attention?
Right.
Like, we don't want to bore anyone just because it's a new format. We don't want to like put random things. So we started exploring, like, telling the story of that, like, making of that thing itself.
So basically, our artworks are mostly inspired by what is surrounding us, like maybe our personal experiences or our memories.
Right.
So what we thought was maybe through video we will show behind the scenes, like what actually was an inspiration, and then the making of the art.
Like a few stages. Not necessarily like a tutorial because for a
it was
common
like a
person that
tutorial.
might be very boring.
So it was like telling a story.
But during that time also, reel was limited to 1 minute, or it was
It was 30 seconds.
Yeah, probably 30 seconds.
30 seconds, because I think IGTV was already there, right?
Yes.
That was for long videos.
That was for long videos.
Okay. So reel, 30-second
30
reel.
second reel,
Okay. Acha. I don't even remember this thing because I started using Instagram properly after lockdown, like 20.
Okay.
So 2022, I think I started YouTube channel and Instagram, taking Instagram seriously.
Okay.
So okay, I didn't know, but this is interesting. So 30 seconds. So since then only Instagram was asking you to make very crisp video content.
So 30, I'm not very sure about it. Could be slightly longer. 30. Okay. So they introduced like another like stage, like 60 seconds, and then they introduced probably more than 60 is also possible. Yeah. So
Eventually, I think they combined IGTV and Reels. Okay. Okay. So lockdown, because I have seen and heard many stories of content creators, and what they tell usually is that during, like, they got most of their followers and traction during the lockdown period because people were stuck in homes and then they didn't have much to do. Did that happen like in the same way for you guys also?
Yeah, it did. Like initially, not necessarily right after Reels happened because like as I said, we were hesitant about it initially. But once we started doing it, and I think the second lockdown happened, and that's when things used to go viral a lot. Like, and at that time, I started posting. Earlier, what I used to do, I used to like observe something and then directly make an illustration, put it like the final illustration.
Put it like an image.
Image.
Like image. And with video, that's when I started showing that this is what I'm seeing, and now I'm making an illustration based on it. And I think people really enjoyed seeing that happen. So earlier I used to think, who would really care about my inspiration? Like I saw certain things, why would anyone care? I might as well. I would have just clicked a reference photo of it and that's all, or a reference video and that's all.
Yeah.
But then people really started enjoying that thing, and that really led to a lot of growth during that time.
I think that was a discovery for most of the creators also, and most of the people like me also, that because we were only used to putting pictures out there, nobody cared about process. And also I think after that video content only, the relevance of personal branding also evolved quite prominently, because through your videos and all, you can get an opportunity to understand that person in a better way, right? If you're just putting pictures, then you don't know who is the artist. But when you are showing little videos and your process and things like that, you are able to connect with that person in a better way. So I think that thing was a discovery for most of the creators, but very interesting. So now fast forward today, what is your like situation like? What do you guys do? What is your routine? How's everything going on right now?
So we try and have a routine like a regular job. Typically we start like our day at around 10:30 and end around 6. But it's not necessarily that it happens in that way, because sometimes there are like requirements of project. Maybe there's some client work, maybe a client commission for her, or like a brand related project for either of us. So during those days, it might happen that we work on the weekend as well. Like it doesn't. We generally try to avoid that happening, but it does happen that Saturdays might be working because of that.
And we want to paint every day, but we don't get to paint every day.
Okay.
So because there is this video content and everything, right? So some days we only sit, maybe discuss ideas. Some days we actually do something like artwork and everything. And in our case, it's like when I make a painting, he's my videographer.
Oh.
And when he does illustration, I'm the videographer. And then we edit them. So there are some days wherein we are not making any artwork, but we are only editing out videos.
Okay.
Or maybe thinking about next idea.
So is it just two of you, or there are like supporting editors or
No,
things?
it's just both of us.
Just two of you. So you only edit your videos, you only do everything.
Yes, but we do one thing that either of us edits a video. We definitely show each other like to have a second pair of eyes on it, to get some feedback and then refine it further.
Okay.
So
and like we used to discuss just after our marriage. We love watching movies. And we love discussing the artistic choices that a director or
Interesting.
like a filmmaker makes.
almost after
Maybe a
every
camera
film.
angle or maybe lighting.
Okay.
So we try to incorporate some of that while shooting.
Very interesting. So that's how you are getting your interesting camera angles, cinematography, and all that.
We try.
But very interesting. But now, because you were talking about working together, I think working together, especially when it's your husband or a wife, it can get challenging, right? So, so how often do you fight over content and all that?
Generally, it's not a lot of fighting, right?
Okay.
We are very collaborative in that sense.
Good.
And if there is like a difference of opinion, we really present our case. Like we really try to convince the other person.
Okay.
And then we decide what sticks. Like what is a better idea, and then we go with it.
Okay, interesting. And also, you have this platform to validate. No, you can just put it out on your social media and see what works
See
and
what our followers are enjoying actually.
exactly, and then that's a good validation.
Yes.
And
But
fortunately, we really have a really good community.
Absolutely.
And that is really encouraging.
that I can like, because I am also part of that community, so I can also give that same assurance that your community is very engaging and connected to you guys, because the thing which you were saying earlier, that you were making content which is relatable to a lot of people, and that's the beauty of your content, I guess. You make it so relatable, and you make it a very cute and very visually appealing version of it, so that makes it very visually delightful experience, that entire experience, no? And that's the thing I think I can also tell you, that experience is something which somehow makes you feel happy about you as creators also, and looking at your work also. So that's why when I came here, I didn't feel any awkwardness. As in later I was thinking like I came and I said hi to you and then I hugged him. And later I was only wondering that okay, I am meeting him for the first time and how did I directly go and hug him? So I think that connection is there. So that relatability, that so I think you have done a really good job with your community.
And also thanks to this entire like lot of people that are like following us because they are like champions. Like they share our work, probably their stories to with their friends. Just the other day, I met a girl when I was just walking with my father to the garage nearby, and she stopped me and she told me that I've shared your artwork and your profile with all my friends. And I was like, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that's a great feeling,
I'm
no?
really happy when someone says that they connect with our like artwork or like animations or paintings so much.
That's a wonderful feeling. Actually, just before, like while coming here, there's Chinmay behind the camera, and Chinmay's sister was also there with us. So she was also telling that she usually watch my every podcast and she'll watch it till the end. Just that one statement, no, it stayed with me and it is still making me feel so happy that okay, my content is is relevant to all these people and they're watching it till the end and all. So I think that's a very wonderful feeling, and I'm sure. मतलब मेरे तो कुछ भी followers नहीं है, but you guys will be getting those kind of.
You have also watched your like a part of your podcast episode, right? So it was already like I kind of know you already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you were interviewing someone and you were also adding your own inputs on like what your experience having. So it gives us a good idea about who you are as a person as well.
Yeah, I think all those things are very wonderful experiences. It helps to understand the person also. Now I'm gonna do an interesting thing. I'm gonna pretend that I am this 20-year-old artist who is an aspiring content creator, and from his point of view, his or her point of view, I'm gonna ask some basic questions related to content creation for artists. Okay. And you can just throw some light onto it so that people who are aspiring to become a content creator, they can get so much value from it. Okay. So first of all, is it even worth being a content creator?
Firstly, like we said, it is absolutely worth it. But then there's a little caveat I would like to add is that from someone who's like not doing this regularly for like a long time, it might seem like it's a easy thing, or it might seem like it's a guaranteed thing. Like most things in life, it's definitely not guaranteed. Like we have to make it happen and experiment a lot.
Yes.
So like being an artist, I think, is one creative muscle, but being a content creator to present that art is another creative muscle. Doing a lot of that, like repetitions of the same, like say doing a workout, like of course I'm not the kind of person who should talk about working out a lot. You can definitely see I'm really not doing much of it. But as we know in theory that one needs to exercise and work a lot to develop the muscle, right? So similar with repetitions and like with increasing level of difficulty. So with that same analogy, we need to exercise and like try a lot of different ways to make say content to present these art and these ideas. So that also involves like, a lot of quantity.
And also come up with unique concepts every
Yes.
time because people want to see something new all the time.
And probably quantity, like say repetitions, like a lot of trial and error.
Explore a lot.
Exploration, yes.
Explore a lot. Okay. So quantity versus quality. What works best for the content creator?
From an artistic point of view, like we both of us think ourselves as firstly as artists. So we think
quality matters more.
Okay.
However, maybe on social media, quantity is needed.
Like the social media platforms like require a lot of quantity. So if you even just think about the fact that the more shots we take at something, more opportunities to be discovered by the right kind of people who are interested in that thing. So that way, quantity is very important. But then the other way is also true that if there's no quality, then why would someone spend their valuable time watching something that we have created? So I think quality in the art itself should be paramount, but at the same time, there should be probably a lot more art being made then.
Okay, so there has to be some balance. Like
Yes,
you
yes.
can't ignore quality or quantity.
Yeah.
Both has to be there.
Has to be there.
If you have to list down some pros and cons of being a creator.
You get to tell your story.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
for
I
example,
didn't think of that pro actually, but okay, wonderful.
so for example, if I want to make a painting, and then I can tell a story behind that painting, like how did I come up with the idea, or maybe if it is something that I've already watched, or if it is something that I dreamed of. So yeah, so that way you can tell your own story in your own way. So that way each creator is actually very unique. They have their own style. So that is this one pro.
Yeah, another thing is that is very surface level, but we can get our work in front of a lot of people, like
Right.
thousands of people. Say, so if we look at certain, like say, accounts on any platform, if they are doing great, like in terms of millions of views, and if someone is like starting out, like they're trying out for a few years, and if they're getting a few thousand views, now that might look discouraging in like if we look at it things in comparison. But if you think about thousands of people, think of about real thousands of people
Yeah,
looking
in
at it, and
reality,
it's
like-
kind of overwhelming, right? Like we can't imagine 10,000 people and us showing like one video to them. That's kind of like would have been unheard of a few years ago.
Yes.
So that's a big opportunity to put our work out there and show it to so many people.
Okay, so that is one con, that you get to tell story and present it to
both
so many
two
people.
So many people at once, yes.
Okay, because you have done a day job before.
Ha.
Do you miss anything from your day job?
No.
We do miss the
We only
guaranteed
miss the
paycheck.
Yes, guaranteed paychecks and paid holidays.
Yes.
Okay.
These two things.
But I feel okay. but-
Nothing else.
Nothing else, yes.
Okay, but you said paid holidays also. I think being a content creator, you would have that flexibility for yourself, no? To take holidays as per you.
We
So we get
can,
the
but then
flexibility.
it comes with guilt that I'm not working.
Oh.
So in a corporate job, we have an expectation of like we're getting these 12 holidays and then 12 leaves or something of that sort. So these 12 leaves, no manager or someone has to is supposed to call us and like ask us to work on those days, right? So none of that expectation. But in these cases, the manager is a little manager inside our own heads. So that still stays.
And the paycheck isn't guaranteed, right? Right. Like
So even if you are taking those holidays, you are not getting you are getting your full salary because
exactly, yes.
paid salary.
Yes, yes.
But यहाँ पे you might feel guilty कि अरे I could have done little
done
bit
something,
and then could have earned little bit more.
It's just a shaping of the way we look at things, shaping of that perspective. It's not that we necessarily might actually be missing out on things, but then
it takes some time
to
peace
get
with
used
it,
to this
actually.
different way of life.
This reminds me of one quote which I heard somewhere. I hated my 9 to 5 job. That's why I became an entrepreneur.
Now I do it
and
24/7.
now I do it 24/7.
That is very true.
So,
One of the cons I would like to highlight is sometimes what happens is you put in a lot of effort in an artwork and also making video of it. And due to some reason, maybe algorithm reasons, it doesn't reach a lot of people. So it is little off-putting and you kind of feel sad. But it took us some time to make peace with the fact that, okay, we shouldn't be judging what we have made based on the views we have gotten.
many a times it has happened to me also. The post which I have taken the least amount of effort.
It might really skyrocket, right?
Yeah, it got like thousands of views and thousands of shares and
Right.
all. And the post which I really liked, they didn't get much traction.
Yes.
So how do you feel that anxiety related to these numbers and all?
It happens, but then with time we have understood that we shouldn't be attaching the worth of our art or our self-worth with those numbers. Like those I won't say that those numbers don't matter. Those numbers definitely matter, because at the end of the day, that's the number of people we're getting to show our art to. And I mean, if you're making, it's not that I'm just making that art and keeping it like in my folder on my iPad, right? Or just log in my laptop. So I absolutely want to show my expression to as many people as possible, because a lot of thought went to it, and it's not something that I just saw, but it's an interpretation of what we saw in whichever art form both of us are doing. So we absolutely want to put it out to as many people as possible, and it really hurts when it doesn't go to that many people that we really want to show to. But then over time we realize it's not necessarily the worth of our artwork itself.
And it has also happened that maybe I make one painting and it has got probably million views. Okay, but I still have that artwork with me. But I make another artwork and it probably reached few thousands, and somebody loved it so much they just went to our online store, they just bought the artwork
immediately.
So the artwork that got millions views, I still have it with me. And the artwork that did not get that much of a traction got sold immediately. So that also happens. So
there's a lot of subjective things attached to what you can call success and all.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. So, but yeah, I think I was reading a report also which was saying that after social media, the issues related to your emotional health and especially anxiety issues in all these youngsters have gone up like anything. I think there's a lot to be learned from your experience also, that if you are attaching too much yourself with those views and numbers, I think it's gonna get really bad.
Yes.
So
and we have been there actually. So we also learned from our mistakes.
Okay. So that time, how did you deal? If you got disturbed by seeing very less number of views and
Yeah, but fortunately, since we have each other, like one of us gets
gets to have a bit of a detachment from that and then tell the other person.
Yeah, I think having a partner like this who understands this content creation helps a lot, because again, this reminded me a situation before few months, I guess, where I did something and for that I got some hate comments. Okay. Like the sketch, whatever I had done, it wasn't liked by few people. They pointed out some mistakes and all that, and I got instantly, disturbed because of it. And Samiksha, she saw me and she understood that something is wrong. So she came to me. She asked me, what happened? So I was like, no. I did so much effort and I put the sketch and then it didn't get good traction. Instead, I am getting little hate comment for that. So she said, when you are getting hate comment, that's a good sign, because that means you are really getting popular in some way, that you are getting
whatever you are saying matters in a way.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I never thought from that point of view. And now whenever that happens or whenever something like this happens, I always tell myself that if I'm getting some negative comment, that means I'm doing something right. So I think that
and the internet is full of
all sorts of people, right? Yeah. So it's easy to hide behind anonymity and see something bad. Now that very same person, if that person happened to be in front of you, not really knowing you, not even acquaintance, but they came across you and you're actually doing that artwork in front of them, that sketch, they wouldn't have the courage to say something that bad to your face. But the anonymity emboldens so few people to say the wrong things aloud.
That has happened with me once, and I remember Chaitanya was telling me कि अगर तुम कुछ बनाओगे और in real और कोई आके थूक के जाएगा तो it's like the same thing, right? So we either ignore or we just watch it and we just move on. So it's like
and the thing is that we know that we have put out both best into whatever we are making. It might be a sketch, illustration, painting, whatever it is. Then I think we have done a good job about it. So, and I can definitely say that next morning we might see flaws with it. That it happens it sometimes happens after posting it. Within 5 minutes of posting it and looking at the post again, I feel like, oh shit, I had planned to do this the other day when I thought about this idea. But then along in the process of making it, I forgot to implement that thing. And I have completely forgotten that. But that I know. And as long as I'm not telling everyone, I'm not telling that I've done I've forgotten to do something. So, but that's fine. Like it's a part of growing our work.
Interesting. Now, the next question is, how many hours do you work every day?
It can be a lot, and
We sometimes work all the time also. Because it's like we also come up with a lot of concepts or ideas.
Do you sleep
or
in your
stuff.
studio sometimes?
No. Fortunately,
that
that
bad.
hasn't happened yet.
But yeah, we work a lot, but also
But yeah, we left studio at 11 in the night, so that
yeah,
has
a few
happened.
times.
Yeah,
Okay. That is still
especially
not
during
that bad.
Yeah.
especially during our calendar time.
Yeah. So this last year, Ru&chai had a theme for her paintings, which would become calendar pages later on, and also become art prints and such. But she came up with a very ambitious theme of
Over-ambitious theme.
Yeah, over-ambitious theme of having 3 different elements, which
Of a
could have
particular
been
state.
which could have been paintings in by of themselves, like separate paintings, but all 3 of them in one large painting, and she had to do 12 of these. So,
12 states.
There wasn't enough
Indian
time for
states,
this.
yeah.
So,
Basically, it was like I took a lot of time in researching also, like which food is famous of a particular state and all those
I think
things.
these kind of art.
yeah, the
Yeah.
calendar that we have made.
Yes, yeah.
So research
So
time.
that was over ambitious of me, and who also started very late. I think I started in October, and the calendar is supposed to go out in December. So that was fun time actually.
Yeah. And another thing is early on we used to work out of our home, right? Like a small home office. At that time, it was very hard to have a separation between like work and life. But after that, since we have a studio, it helps to have at least a little bit of separation.
But doesn't matter because sometimes he just wakes up at 12 o'clock in the night and tells me an idea.
Yeah.
So that
She's
also
extremely sleepy. And I'm telling
I'm
her,
like,
"I had
please,
this
let's
idea,
talk
I want this
tomorrow."
So I note it down and then tell it at 12 to her in the morning.
It's funny, but actually, whenever you are telling these experiences, no, I am imagining your next post. That okay,
Because I come up in a comic or something.
because I keep seeing all these things. No, I can imagine that okay, she's sleeping and then
He's
Chaitanya.
telling me an idea.
Amazing. But yeah, I noticed that you were talking about these three
Three
separate
things,
illustrations,
yeah.
right?
The architecture, food, and
Local
art
art
form
Wow.
of the state.
It might look like a one illustration, but there are
Yeah, there were three
detailed
actually. Yeah.
different paintings.
Wow, crazy. So the next question is, how do you generate your ideas for content?
So basically, like when you say that we do relatable illustrations and art, so it is actually because we are inspired, heavily inspired from what is surrounding us, like maybe our own experiences, any funny incidences, like he did.
Yeah, so one time I remember she was going somewhere, and when she reached that place, that shop, a lizard jumped off from her helmet.
I have seen that post.
So that incident, and we didn't know, like she didn't know.
I didn't know
how
it.
long she had been carrying that
Exactly.
lizard on her helmet. So I had exaggerated that a little bit and thought about that she was riding all along with that.
So
that lizard on
in
her
a
head.
way, he gets to make fun of me also.
So I made that into a comic. So all these things
Then one time in Jodhpur, we saw a rat.
Okay.
And it was totally unexpected.
So I was just pulling her leg and I was randomly recording her from behind when she was walking. And
A
we
rat
took
came out of nowhere.
and Jodhpur has a lot of these blue lanes, right? So out of nowhere a rat came and she shrieked out loud. And I don't know what her plan was, but she took her purse as a defense, like, and it got recorded. And I made an illustration based on it from the point of view of the rat, like how she might, how that rat might look at her like a large thing, and she's the one who's
I'm
getting scared.
jumping in the air. He's laughing. Like,
So ideas come from our daily life as well as things that we see, like
Okay. Very
see or
interesting.
experience or maybe even dream about.
I think that's also very interesting, no? Because these things nobody can copy from you, right?
they're
So,
very personal experience.
Personal. It is very honest, and I think today people respect that the most. I guess the honesty and the genuineness with which that authentic relation of your own personality into that content. I think that is very valuable today. How to build your social presence or a personal brand on social media?
We didn't build a persona or anything.
Yeah, so we keep it true to how we are. Like
Yeah.
some things might be silly that people might think of us as silly people, but we just randomly put it out there.
Okay.
And okay, not the most silly part, but up to a certain extent, we are okay with putting our like zaniness there. And we don't really create a personality like to show.
So that
even
way,
through our
actually,
art.
it's easier. You know, it's like you're.
So I think you're
and
very.
every person has their unique personality with them anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's very honest, and you are just putting your own thoughts and experiences into your art. So I think you are not putting a lot of effort and thinking into the content idea per se. Whatever experience is funny for you, you are just creating an art around it. You are putting it out there, and maybe you are doing it consistently. So I think these 2-3 things can help someone to create that presence.
Yes.
However, like coming up with ideas, like distilling them into something that can be an artwork is definitely a challenge for us. It's not that we are always having like a huge treasure trove of ideas. I mean, things keep happening to all of us, right? But then distilling that this is worthy of telling as a painting or as a comic or whichever is the right format for it, does take some effort. So if we come up with an idea, we quickly either tell each other or we note it down.
Okay.
And then we filter among those like listed ideas and what could actually make sense to like make something entertaining.
So we have
or
a
fun.
note full of ideas even right now.
Yeah.
So 100, 200 sketchbooks and then 100 books for ideas. Okay, awesome. So many people, because of all these social media gurus, if you call them, they keep preaching about how to create social media brand and blah, blah, blah. So many people think a lot about niche. So how do you find your niche, especially when you are starting out in the beginning stage of your content creation journey?
I think that everyone has particular set of tastes, right? Like say I love certain kind of films. Someone else might love entirely different thing, or there might be another person who likes like an overlap of these two things. So I think we can let our taste guide us to what we really enjoy. Like I have always enjoyed like watching a lot of animated films, right? Like since my childhood. So I have a strong affinity for like this 2D animation as well as 3D animation and like those things. As well as both of us have a strong affinity for like very well made paintings. As again, the definition of well made is subjective. But then what we observe that is really nice in someone's work, we just make a mental note of it. Or in certain film, or say how a particular shot is composed in a film, we really enjoy it probably, and then it subconsciously trickles down in our work. So I think it's more of a subconscious process.
Okay. So basically, again, I think a lot of your suggestions boil down to being honest and being true to what you are experiencing around you. I think
Maybe also exploring more so that you get
taste can only be developed if we explore a lot of things,
Yes.
and only then we get to know that we don't like this thing but we look like this other thing.
Okay. So I think initially you can also keep on exploring different experiment. I think it's very helpful because sometimes you might think that this is gonna work, but it might not work on social media. It's a weird place, I feel.
And also exposing ourselves to a lot of different sorts of media, as in even within films, a lot of film, like say if we were watching, like you might have heard about this film called Citizen Kane. It's like a very old film, like I think from 1950s or so, or 40s. It's a black and white film, and I had heard a lot of good things about it since like more than a decade now, and I got to watch it only like last year, and of course it looks dated now because it is black and white and technology has changed so much and it is a bit theatrical, but then there are so many things that they did so amazingly well that are relevant even in amazing films that are done today. So if we just think about it, that it's a black and white film, who cares? I don't want to watch it. Then we might miss out on experiencing lot of good things.
Yeah, so like have an open mind.
Yeah, have open mind and also seek out things. Like now, I discovered this film from a lot of like co-students in Animation Mentor, and also I remember this being on the IMDb top 250 film list. So maybe there's a reason why it was on that list, and that's what got me interested in watching it. So maybe we can expose ourselves to a lot of different kinds of things. Like
So also, like in my case, I used to make a lot of landscape paintings and maybe plein air paintings, like go on a location and paint what is in front of you. And then after lockdown, I got into food painting. So I just thought of exploring if I really like it. I'm a foodie. I mean, who isn't a foodie? But I thought of exploring that part, and then I loved it. So that's how one can find their own voice.
And I remember distinctly, you started creating these paintings in the shape of plate and all.
Yes.
One of your paintings I vividly remember, that pav bhaji
painting.
pav bhaji painting. I think it went viral also.
Yeah, it did.
So that pav bhaji painting, because and the way it was presented, again, the artwork is phenomenal, but on top of it, I think the way it was presented, from the actual pav bhaji to that painting and all that, I think that was also very engaging. So kudos to you again, experimenting,
Yes.
exploring a lot of ideas,
thank you.
all those things. The next question, I think this is very commonly asked question also, and also the kind of question I can also relate to. Is content creation financially sustainable?
So firstly, we don't get a paycheck every month.
Yeah.
So that is something you have to make peace with. Like
The uncertainty is a part and parcel of
that
this.
That is going to be there.
That it can be like a 1 month might be like you earn a lot of money. The next month might be a trickle, and the next month after that you don't know what it's going to be. So we can plan for a more uniform kind of like income, but then it takes time to get into that.
So basically what we make, like our artworks, like my paintings or his illustrations, they are a product by themselves. So when we present a video, or when we post a video, that is actually our product. So it is available for people to buy.
Or on online
directly on our online store. So that is one way through which
I think that's a very straightforward way, that you put your artwork and then keep it for sale.
Yes.
That way you can earn money. That could be one of the ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And the second one would be brand collabs.
Yes. And also another thing, because we are talking about the artwork, so we also have a few different ways of putting that artwork. So my illustrations are digital, so they are available as art prints, and her paintings are available both as originals and some of them as art prints.
Okay.
So we try, and also we design merchandise like same
Art prints, you are saying?
Art prints.
Prints, okay.
Yes, prints of those artworks.
Okay.
And then we also design merchandise from the point of view of having that merchandise as the goal itself. So that as well. So we do those things. And yes, brand collaborations as well. So with the growing like reach and a lot of people enjoying our work, right? A lot of brands are also interested in collaborating and help tell their story or tell about their product or what they are making. So that is another way of like earning.
Okay. So all these brand collabs and all, so brands only reach out to you, or is there any way to approach them?
Yes, so far at least we have always been approached by brands. We have not tried approaching brands yet, but then this has worked well for us, that brands are interested in like doing the collab, and they might be interested in a particular way of doing it, say like through a painting or through an animation or something of that sort.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So selling your art, creating merchandise or art prints, all those things are valid. And then brand collaborations, I think. Have you left anything else? Maybe workshops, because you were mentioning
Yes,
workshops.
we used to do
We used
workshops.
to do
That also is a way of.
But I think it all gonna take some time. So first you need to have a solid community, which will be willing to buy because they love you. So I think first task will be to make your community love your no matter what is happening.
Another way is that like workshops, it can be teaching. So like I have a Skillshare class that they shot with me like a couple of years ago. So I get a lot of these questions that I would love to learn this. So I want to make a larger format thing, like where I can teach more structurally a longer thing. We haven't got around enough time to do that, but that is another way for people to like teach what they are good at.
Okay.
Yes.
So probably selling online courses or things,
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
or digital products, let's say,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
nowadays ebooks and those things.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so valid. So I think 5-6 ways are there.
Yes.
So what kind of tools do you use?
My work is digital, so I use an iPad Pro, Apple Pencil, and this app called Procreate. I absolutely love it because it gets out of the way and it has almost all the tools that one would require to make illustrations. For animation, I use quite a few different apps. There's one called Calipeg, then there's one called Procreate Dreams, so a bunch of them.
I work in acrylic painting,
So you use
I
all
have
the
acrylic colors, canvas.
physical
Yes.
mediums.
Yes.
Okay, there is a long, debate which happens between your hand skills and digital skills.
I've heard that a lot of times. Right? I mean, a lot of times people tell me, you hand paint, right? And Chaitanya digitally paints. I'm like, Chaitanya also hand paints, but digitally. Like, so I have a brush in my hand. Chaitanya has an Apple Pencil in his hand.
So
So
the
that is
actual-
pretty much the only difference.
Okay.
The correct way to delineate those two things, I mean, for communication's sake, would be traditional and digital.
Traditional and digital.
yes.
Okay.
So that makes perfect sense because traditional is traditional media and digital is a different like new age media.
So do you think like one of them is more important or both of them are required? What is your opinion?
I think both are difficult enough, but then with digital, it allows us to undo a lot of things and like cut, paste, and do these
That's
things.
a superpower.
That's a superpower. So the thing is that I feel if one is learning at an early stage, they can try their hand at doing digital things and such. But I also would recommend them to do a lot of sketching on paper and pencil, or even rather with a pen directly, with a ballpoint pen or a gel pen, because then absolutely you can't even erase like even with a pencil. So that can make us more confident about the strokes that we're making, about our impressions that we're making on a paper.
The next question is, how do you balance your personal and professional life? Because when you are an employee, I think it's pretty straightforward that you have your job timings from this to this, and then after that your personal life start. But when you are an independent creator, what are the challenges? How do you balance it out?
It is blurry sometimes, right?
Yeah. It is.
But then sometimes we actually have to think that okay, let's not think about work
Right.
Okay.
for the next 2 days. Like now the weekend is here and we are not very busy at that time. Then we really try to not think about it, or not really, like even if the iPad is around, I have to force myself to not open like my drawing like animation app and work inside it. So it takes a bit of effort, but then it happens with time.
Yeah, actually, matlab, I have very less following, but still, whenever I go on trips and all, no, I constantly keep thinking, can I look for some inspiration? Can I look for some interesting designs and all, so that I can take a nice picture and put it on my story? Yes, I think I have started feeling that one part of my brain, I was telling it to Chinmay also before, one part of my brain, I feel that it's constantly active and thinking about this thing.
It does happen to us
Yes.
also.
So is it enjoyable, or does it get taxing after some time?
Sometimes it can get taxing, but then we can't do much about it. We just simply like you're talking about stories, right? Like you're hunting for interesting things that you would like to share on your stories. It does happen that sometimes we are really tired, like our brain is really tired, and it's hard to verbalize. We are not even aware about it. But then at certain point we don't really post any stories, and that happens naturally. And then it happens like it's like 7 hours we are not posted in the story, and then we might feel, oh, I've not posted anything, but it does feel so relaxing, right? And then we just let it go for a while,
Okay.
because that's like a signal that tells us that we need to take a step back. And then when we actually are motivated enough to share something, then again it starts.
Has it ever happened to you that there was a long gap in your content posting because of some reason?
It
or
happened
anything?
when we got infected with COVID.
Oh yes.
Oh.
For 1 month, we didn't post anything.
Yeah.
1 month.
No, as in we were affected by it for like a fortnight, but then the gap of us posting was quite a long.
For a month.
Okay. Does that bother you during that time?
It did actually.
Initially, we just completely like shrugged it off that
Yes.
okay, we are so sick we can't even think about it. Let's just watch some films and just like
Okay.
try and stay upbeat a bit. But then later on, it started catching on. Okay,
And some of our followers did send us a message during that
that was very
time.
sweet of them.
That was very sweet. Hey, you guys didn't post anything for such a long
Oh.
time.
You're okay,
I
right?
hope you guys are okay.
Oh wow, that's so assuring. No? That's so
Yeah.
comforting that okay, there are so many people looking out for you. So, did it also affect your engagement or algorithm? What people keep talking?
It actually did, right? Like for
Yeah, I
the
think so.
first
Couple of posts?
posts, yes.
It did.
So, how important it is to, because we are talking about content creation, how important it is to keep posting your content at the same time, almost every time with the same frequency?
I don't really know like how it works, because there are a lot of opinions about it, right? But what we have observed is generally when, like, if we think of ourselves as people who are working in an office or in any other profession, or when would these people get time to even like look at stuff? So we feel is a valid thing to think about.
Okay.
So maybe it's also worth experimenting. Like everyone's audience might be slightly different. Like one might find success by posting at around 12 in noon. Someone else might not. Like it really depends on who are following them. What sort of people?
But sometimes I have also observed that you shouldn't be putting so much of yourself also there.
Okay.
It might bore people.
Okay.
Because
Yourself as in? What do you
yourself
mean?
as in, like, keep posting your work all the time. So
Okay,
you know
okay.
that
Oh, yeah, so she's
that
saying,
kind
like,
of
Don't overwhelm.
Yes,
them.
don't
So you shouldn't
overwhelm-
bombard them
Yes.
with a lot of content.
Right.
Achha, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Then because everybody keeps on, telling that you should post almost every day, to post every day and all
so
that.
it gets overwhelming actually, and then you kind
So
of
Your audience will get
bored,
annoyed maybe.
or maybe you just like, yeah, ye roz hi post
Yeah.
karti hai, I'll see it after a
Actually, I
while.
have seen this, as in through my own experience.
हाँ.
I have seen myself when I'm putting content almost every day, like shorts and reels and everything. The engagement will not be great, like at least for fourth or fifth short, no. But when I am putting posts, let's say with the gap of 2 or 3 days, the engagement will be pretty consistent. I don't know if that is true or not, because I haven't experimented a lot. I haven't posted much also. So, but yeah, I think
So this is something I have experienced. Like when I see some people that I follow and they're posting it every day, I am okay to miss some of their posts.
However,
However, if there is a
much we like
person-
their work, it
Haan.
sometimes can get overwhelming. Like,
Yes.
so
But if there is a creator who posts, say, couple of times in a week or once in a week and comes up with a really good idea, I make sure that I see that creator's post.
you don't want to miss that.
Yes.
Okay, that's an amazing insight.
So like too much of content is also overwhelming.
Another thing is that it also helps us stay sane, right?
Yeah, in a way.
If we try to even bombarding anyone with a lot of content will mean that we got to work at extremely high quality and high quantity a lot, which means we'll definitely face burnout. So which is not good for us as well.
How often do you feel burnouts?
Very often, actually.
Okay, I was expecting not much.
Every now and then, yeah. But it's like if we take enough time to recharge and not like if I were to work on like a lot of things back to back, say a bunch of illustrations and a few brand collabs in between, a lot of these things back to back, then it's definitely going to burn me out so much that for the next 5 to 6 days, I don't want to do anything with it.
Then Chaitanya tells me, like in Marathi, की आता मी कट्टी करणार आहे सगळं. I'm not going to talk to anybody for a very long time.
Yeah, that's true actually. Because if you keep putting such a quality content almost every 2 days, it's gonna consume a lot of your energy.
Yes.
And it's a long game. Like we are again and again talking about it. You are into this field since 2009. You both are creating content from 2016.
Yes.
So it's a long game. Probably today you are really enjoying the, returns of all that investment, whatever you have done. But because it's a long game, I think it's better to keep sane. I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because emotional health, I think once it takes a toll on you, it's very difficult to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that us feeling fresh is very much required to stay creative. That
You don't get new ideas when you're exhausted.
And there's also no point in regurgitating what we are seeing online. That this is contrary to what I was saying earlier, though, that we were talking about exposing ourselves to a lot of different types of media, right? Also, it could be bad in the sense that if you're watching a lot of reels of like similar kind of people, like say artists or any kind of creator actually, then it might happen that we are kind of regurgitating the same kind of ideas in our own way. And then it's like a Xerox copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and we know what happens at the end of it. It's like a very not a very nice image, right? So if we were to draw from our inspiration, but for that we need to be fresh enough to experience the outdoors as well.
I think this is a very, very important point what you just highlighted because creative mind, we need to have a lot of fun and we need to feel that excitement.
Yes. And
then only all the creativity.
And they say that your creative mind also needs boredom.
Yeah.
Because from that boredom they come up with creativity.
Yeah, I think
which is one of the hardest things to do nowadays. Like
Yes.
just the other day, I was watching something on YouTube for like quite a lot of time continuously, and she told me that you need to take a break. Like you need to be bored a bit, and that's like a
especially
Too much
after
consumption of
too much of consumption of knowledge is happening actually, and it has become such a addictive thing. Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts also. Like, just let's say if I'm sitting idle here for let's say 10 seconds also, without even I understand it, my hand will go to Instagram icon, it will get open and I'll start scrolling.
Yes.
I recently watched it in one of the reels only. It's called as a popcorn brain.
Popcorn, even
Popcorn brain, yeah. So
Yeah.
you just cannot sit quiet for even a few seconds.
you need that dopamine hit
Yeah.
almost
Exactly,
every
yes.
5 seconds.
Yes, which is
That's
bad
it.
actually.
And all these big platforms, they're trying their best to keep you engaged.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So I think we were living in a good time where we were not. We used to find like 5-minute video as a short video. We could sit and watch and all that. Today we live in a time where all those guys they talk about hooks and all, right?
Yeah.
Those 3 seconds. They're talking
Yes.
about 3 seconds.
Yes.
You have to capture attention from your audience and all.
Yes.
So,
It is exhausting.
so I think we have touched upon so many things. This podcast was quite nice. Long also. So, apologies.
We enjoyed it a lot as well.
Yeah.
Apologies for consuming a lot of your
No,
time.
no.
I know, we enjoyed a lot.
I know you guys are being just nice to me.
No, we
we are not being modest.
Look at your faces.
Yeah. It's been a really nice conversation. Like you are having a lot of good like questions as well as the insights that you also have and are sharing. It's always nice to hear.
And I think it's your energy, guys. The moment we have entered this house, in the studio, the kind of energy you have here. I was also observing the kind of colors you have in the studio. No, all those things makes you feel so cheerful, and the energy. Kudos to you guys because you both also have really positive and very energetic personalities.
Thank you.
So that is a big plus for me because this interview has been very candid and very easy from that way. Coming to the last point, because we have already talked about so many things and I think we have talked about almost everything. But on top of it, if you have any sort of final concluding advice for creators, like be it creators, be it designers, people who have creative minds and who are into this creative profession, any of the creative professions. If you want to give like one advices each, what would that be?
So, like we said before, like one is to find your own voice first. Like I wouldn't recommend any artist to think that they have to create content first. So they have to create art first, and then probably make a really good art, and then probably I don't know, like expose themselves to multiple ways of presenting that art, or explore how they can present that art in a unique fashion, because there are so many content creators out there, and you have to stand out. So in that case, they have to find their own style. It may take time, but it will be worth it.
Okay, so your unique voice and unique style.
Yes,
I think that is
of
very
presenting.
Presenting.
Because nowadays an artist, if I'm a painter, I cannot only be painting. I need to be a videographer, I need to be an editor, I also have to think, I also probably have to maybe give a voiceover when I want to tell my story.
Yeah, even write a script also to convey what you want to
yes.
say.
So you have to be more than an artist or just a painter, especially in this content creation era.
Very powerful, because I think we are living in a very multidisciplinary sort of environment now. That just doing one particular skill is not gonna take you anywhere. Like coming back to what you were saying earlier, like your creative muscle is there, and then your content creation muscle is also a different game. You need to have both of them. But amazing. Okay.
In any kind of school, I'm not very sure, because I didn't go to a design school or an art school. But then I think that business of this, whatever we are doing, like business of art is not really taught. So I think it is necessary to seek out like places like probably online, search online, or say on YouTube, and learn about the monetary aspects about it as well. Like it is one thing to be really good at something, but it is another thing to also make it into your career. And for that, business skills are necessary. Like how can you like probably monetize what you're doing, and then how can you like communicate with clients in a very professional manner, how you can conduct yourself in a professional manner, how to like provide the right kind of picture about what kind of time will it take to make something, and then keeping the client in loop, and then also learning to negotiate with clients.
Also protecting oneself from the scams.
Thefts and all, right? Like digital thefts and all.
Digital scams and all.
Wow. Actually, when you're talking about that, I think since childhood, especially in this Indian scenario, nobody tells you to the skills required to sell something.
Yes.
Like when you talked about monetary thing, I think one of the basic skill is to sell yourself, like sell your ideas or sell your artwork. And since childhood, for some reason in Indian scenario, we have had this very bad relationship with selling, no? Yeah. Like you will not respect the person who is selling. You will always look at that person as a salesperson. And you also you are also not taught to charge for your time also, right? So when somebody is providing service, I think this common mentality from Indian people is that they'll expect it for free.
Especially from artists.
Yeah, especially from creative people.
Because you're anyway gonna do it, just do it for me.
Yeah,
that kind of
and
thing.
this happens to designers a lot, because especially things like logo design and all.
Oh yes.
They will feel that logo design is like 5-minute activity for this guy. They will not think about the kind of amount and the skills. He has been learning this skill for past 10 years, and that's why he is able to do it in 5 minutes.
Yes.
So they don't think about it. And many families, relatives, they also don't understand this. I think I'm pretty sure this must have been happening with you also.
In regards to what you're saying, that it's true that we are not taught to sell. Like now, it is a good thing to not be a full sellout and just sell anything and everything. But at the same time, there's a fine line, because only if we can like have earning either from a day job that is something else and pursue art as a hobby, or through art itself as a profession. That is the thing that lets us, the money is the thing that lets us pursue this in the first place. If we are kind of in the red and we're not like earning enough, then our mind will be entirely focused on earning and like making a living itself. So if we can monetize our artwork itself so that it earns, and then it allows us the freedom of like mind to look at the world in a very like open manner, and only then we can be creative about it, I think.
Also know one's worth, because in the name of exposure and opportunities also people scam you, like do this and then maybe from the next project onwards I'll pay you or something like that, or maybe you'll get more exposure, you'll learn a lot.
This also happens.
So yeah, this happens a lot of
I
times.
think with a lot of students and all that.
And I've also seen that artists in general, when you tell them that their artwork is good, they feel like, "Oh, thank you." So they feel like, thank you. And then so it's like they're satisfied there directly. So it's like, it's not like...
It's a good thing to be that, but also they should protect their own interest, in the sense that they shouldn't be taken for a ride.
This happens a lot, especially like companies like that. They take advantage of all these young aspiring designers and artists. They'll tell upfront that we'll take you as an intern, but we will not give you salary, because we are going to teach you so many things, and that would be a big learning for you on. But at the same time, they're going to make that person work a lot for that company.
Yes.
But they're not going to
use that material what they're creating in some part of their production, like somewhere, right? So I feel that it has to be paid. Maybe interns wouldn't get a huge salary, but they need to be paid at least something.
At least something which is equivalent to their pocket money. Something like that, at least it should be paid.
Yeah.
Another thing, another form of scamming these days is they take art contest.
Okay.
And then they say that your artwork will be maybe on our page, business page, or maybe on some merchandise. We will sell it on our merchandise. So they are basically making people work for free. For them in the name of contest.
Now there are two types of contests, I think. There is one where which I think can be beneficial for some students or something, is that where they invite a lot of these like say designs for a particular thing, and then they are going to choose like say the top 3, and then they have like a really large prize money. Prize
so that is like a typical contest. That is how a contest should be.
Prize money, sometimes internships also will be offered. All those things are good.
Those are fine.
Also another thing is that in the fine print, it is not mentioned that all of your work belongs to us. So that shouldn't be the case. So if the first 3 are winning and their work is getting used, they are getting a prize out of it. So the company who's hosting this contest might also get something out of this, and that is they get to see a lot of different perspectives about that thing, which is a big win for them without spending money already.
They're just creating their treasury of so many ideas into something, right?
So, but I'm saying they get to choose from a large pool. So they are already getting that. But as long as they're not saying all of your design belongs to us, then they are not really like cheating anyone. Then they are actually rewarding the winners with something, and then they're going to use their design, which will be mentioned somewhere in the contract anyway. But they're not taking everyone for a ride. But then there are other contests wherein any submission belongs to us.
Yes.
And only there will be one or like a few winners will be getting something.
And your artwork will be shown on our merchandise or something, like you get this opportunity. So in the name of contest, they're like scamming artists.
They're just using the desperation from students.
Yes.
Especially artists and designers also. They're so desperate in that final phase of their education, where they are not getting jobs, they are not sure about. So they are ready to do anything for exposure. and these companies, they're just banking on it.
So this is one of those things that I was talking about that one should also be
Careful
about not being scammed.
Maybe
as an
like
artist.
just takes a little bit of time to read the fine print about how the contest is going to be conducted. And the thing is that we might get to hear about such contests through different channels, right? Maybe it's from the company itself, or it might be from like a certain creator or something. And at the end of the day, we can't really blame the creator because maybe it slipped past them. They were not informed about the particular things. So it is, I think at the end of the day, person who's participating, they have to be slightly cautious about what they're entering into.
The least thing which he can make sure is that he should be able to put that thing as a content on his page. I think at least that much should be allowed. Yeah, as a portfolio, as a work, as a content piece. On that powerful note, let me conclude this podcast. Thank you so much, both of you. This was an amazing conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
I literally enjoyed every second of it. I'm not lying. I'm not just.
Absolutely, we also enjoyed it, and it was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
And we are happy to be on the podcast.
Thanks for inviting us here, and hopefully this will help a lot of aspiring content creators out there.
Yeah, we surely hope so.
On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you.